Welcome to episode 14 of Across the Wave. I'm Lorenzo Scola, joined by Ryan Dooley. It's been a couple of weeks, but now with some winter sports ending, we're back to weekly episodes, starting off with basketball. The basketball team, just to recap over the last month, they started the season 9-1, and then they lost 3 out of 4 before picking up a win. So they were 11-4, strong start to the season. They beat West Morris 72-36 in blowout fashion. Austin Kolakowski had 14 there, Thomas Settle with 11. Then they lost to their biggest rivals in other sports, Seton Hall Prep, who's a top 10 ranked team. They lost that one 60-38. Stephen Kometz led with 11. Not much else. Seton Hall playing good defense and one of the top teams. That's a hard one. They had a couple of days of rest before facing Sparta, and they won that one 64-55. Stephen Kometz, he's really been the breakout sophomore, top player on this team. He had 14 points and 6 rebounds. Veer Dahl had 8 points and 9 rebounds in that one. Then they beat Morris Knowles. Gunther Newman and Stephen Kometz had 16 in that one. They lost to Chatham by 8, 60-52 after leading in the first. Stephen Kometz 19, Austin Kolakowski 17. They go on to beat DePaul, who they beat in the first round of the state tournament last year by 5. Austin Kolakowski has 24 points in that one, a huge outing for him. Then they go on to beat Parsippany in the first round of the Morris County tournament. Kometz had 14 there, Gunther Newman had 12. And unfortunately then, the Green Wave would go on a 4-game losing streak in some important games. They lose in the second round of the Morris County tournament to Montville 61-51. Austin Kolakowski had 14, Gunther Newman had 13. It was tough. Back-to-back losses in the second round of the Morris County tournament after winning it 2 years ago in the 2024 season. Then they lost to Montville again the following Tuesday. That's 3 losses on the season to this top Montville team. Stephen Kometz had 18, Gunther Newman had 14, and Austin Kolakowski had 13. They would go on to lose to their rivals, Mendham, again after losing by 10 in the first matchup at Mendham. This was a highly, game going into it. Delbarton wanting revenge at their own home gym. They do lose that one though, 44-42. It was a packed game for both crowds, and it was really back and forth all game. After Stephen Kometz tied it up with a 3 late in the game, Taylon Wemhenner, he drives by 4 Delbarton defenders and gets a layup with 3 seconds left, which would make Delbarton fall in that one. They would go on to lose to Northern Highlands this past week, 53-41. Stephen Kometz has 14 there. And then they beat West Morris this week, 81-47. Stephen Kometz had 21. Austin Kolakowski had 17. Gunther Newman had 14. They'll end the season with Mobir today at 4 p.m. as we're filming this around 3. And then they will play top-ranked, one of the top-ranked teams in the Steam Guild, St. Bernard's. That'll be a tough one. The good thing for the Green Wave, though, is going into the state tournament, they have Paramus in the first round, who is 6-17 on this season. Not a great season for them. So the Green Wave, they should come out on top of that one. They beat DePaul last year before falling to Don Bosco in the second round. And if they beat Paramus, they'll take on the 4-seed Oratory, who they beat earlier in the second game of this season by 2 points. Delbarton coming in as the 5th seed in the state tournament for the non-public A.
Right, yeah, a few bad losses to end the season there in regular season play. Good thing is they have games ahead of them. Starts with Paramus Catholic. That's a huge game for these guys. They're excited. It's win and move on, lose and go home. They're real excited. They have something to prove. And now going on for the swimming team. Back a few weeks ago, they took on number 1 in the state, Bridgewater Raritan. They lost, but only by 14. It's the closest team to Bridgewater this entire season. They then finished strong with a 127-42 win over Mountain Lakes, and then they move on to state tournament play. They first defeated Don Bosco 108-62, and then went on to beat St. Joe's Metuchen 97-73. They then had Pingree in the sectional final for non-public North, and they beat them 113-57. Huge win for them after falling to Pingree in the state tournament last year. And now they have the state final this Sunday against St. Augustine. It's a number 2 in the state in St. Augustine versus number 3 in the state, Delbarton. That's going to be at Rutgers this Sunday. Delbarton only has 1 loss on the season so far. They've looked insanely strong this year. this could be the year they take down St. Augustine, bring back some hardware.
Yeah, definitely. Swimming team, a great season for them after a couple of late losses in the past few seasons. Look for them at 12 this Sunday at Rutgers. Now moving on to bowling. On senior day, they beat Madison 7-0. It was a fun day for the seniors to pick up a win and celebrate. Devin Martin bowled a 257 and had a 641 series, an amazing series from him. Rob Lannon bowled a 202 game 3 and a 2,400 total for the team that game. Then they beat Dover 7-0 as well. Noah Chittarello bowls a 611 series with a games of 207, 193, and 199. Rob Lannon, he would bowl in the 500s with a high game of 201, 2,057, 5. Oh my God. All right.
A lot of numbers.
Yeah. Rob Lannon would go to bowl in the 500s with a high game of 201. Delbarton as a team would roll 2,576 pins for the game. Then they faced a tough Montville team, a top team in the state. They were 13-2 at the time. Delbarton is 0-20 against them since the bowling program started for Coach Can. However, they bowled an amazing game 3 against Montville and took a game from them, bowling a 2,800 series overall. This team, really progressing from starting the year at 2,300 series, 2,400, to late in the season some 2,800 and 2,900 series, really just showing how much this team progressed. They lost game 1 to Montville by only 30 pins too, so they really had a chance to get an upset there, and a good showing for them. In game 3, Michael Scafani had a 235, Christian Chittarello a 202, and Rob Landon a 205. Noah Chittarello had 200 games and bowled a 174. Rough day for Devin Martin, bowling a 488, but showed if all that they play their best, they can be a top team. From the Morris County tournament, they bowled 8th at a 2,500 overall series. So an up and down, a mediocre day for the Green Wave. They finished the season with Roxbury, who they beat, a tough one there. They bowled their highest, 2,900. Then they lost to Kinnelon Thursday. That was a tough game against another top team. And Seton Hall Prep, they almost stole a game from them in game 1, or they did win game 1, and then they fell in the other 2 games. And then here on is sectionals. Last year, Delbarton made history winning the sectional title, Morris County title. They came in as the 6th seed bowling against Belleville, the 11th seed. They were averaging 200 more than them, so it was a dominant 2-0 win for the bowling team there. Then they would go on to face a tough Fort Lee team. They're not used to Boulder City. They only bowled there once in the beginning Bergen Catholic Crusader Classic, and now they have to go there and practice there a couple days before to get adjusted to the lanes, but unfortunately they fell to Fort Lee. They had a great game 1, coming up just 30 pins short of a win, but cooled down in game 2 as they lost by around 150 pins. It was overall a great and fun season for the bowling team. Coming on with 1 returner, you don't expect much, but this team really grew, and they had some seniors who are just amazing and dedicated, and it'll be nice. They'll be going into next season with 5 returners, 3 seniors, 2 sophomores. So look for the bowling team to stay competitive and see what they can do next season.
And as for the winter track team, after taking 3rd at the state relay championships, they then had a very important Morris County championships. First off, senior St. Joseph's University rugby commit Luke Eisenhart. He took 2nd in the 60 meter with it's a 55. Oh my God. Now for the winter track team, after taking 3rd at the relay state championship meet, they then went to a very important Morris County championship meet. First off, senior St. Joseph University rugby commit Luke Eisenhart. He took 2nd in the 55 meter with a 6.62. Junior Josh Akakpo took 3rd in the 600 meter, followed close behind by Hans Clovis, another junior who placed 5th. They had a 1.24 flat and a 1.24.46 respectively. Then Lucian Brett and Todd Smith, they took 4th and 5th respectively in the 1K with a 2.36 and a 2.40. Senior Aiden Ponzio took 2nd in the 55 meter hurdles. He put up a 7.95. And then the 4x4 team, that's Lucian Brett, Hans Clovis, Josh Akakpo, and then Giovanni Buchel. They took 2nd overall in the county with a 3.33. and also senior Alexander Makovsky. He won the pole vault competition with a mark of 11'9". Overall, the team did very well. They placed second in the county, and they move on to states now, which is being competed as we're recording this today. That's Friday the 20th. Real great stuff from that county meet. Hopefully we'll have more to report on from the state meet next week.
Yeah, definitely good luck to the track team right now. Great season for them. For the hockey team, they're continuing their strong season, starting off by beating CBA 2-0. Igor and Pasic score in that one. Insado has 18 saves. Then they beat St. Augustine 4-0. Igor, Pasic, Oguen, and Gomez all have goals. Then they go on to beat St. Joe's 2-1. They beat Westfield 7-0. Beat CBA again 2-1. They would beat Pope John 5-2 before facing them again in the first round of the Gordon Cup. Delbarton coming in that as champions last year. They beat CBA 4-3 in that last year, coming off Gordon Cup and state champions. So they're looking to repeat here. They start off with a dominant win against Pope John 8-0. Then they would go on to beat St. Augustine 5-1 in the semifinal in a huge 1v2 Don Bosco versus Delbarton. Delbarton coming in as the 1 seed, Don Bosco the 2 seed. A great game this should be. Don Bosco starts out by leading with a 1-0 score, but then goals from Aiden Pasic, Sean and Goen, and Igor Andre propelled Delbarton to a 3-2 victory, and they are back-to-back Gordon Cup winners. Just an amazing season so far with 16 wins, only 1 loss and 4 ties. They have now won 12 in a row since that CBA victory. The first round of states will begin versus Gill St. Bernard's next Tuesday. That's February 24th. So look for Delbarton to have a strong go long in this tournament, and hopefully they can win back-to-back on the season. Igor Andre with 9 goals, Aiden Pasic with 14, and Sean Oguen 10. Top 3 leaders in goals. It was only fitting that all 3 of them scored in the Gordon Cup final.
Yeah, really exciting stuff from the hockey team. State tournament coming up, road back to the Prudential Center. Really excited to see what this team can accomplish this year. And it's a very similar story for the wrestling team. Now we have to go back a lot. There's been a lot of action for wrestling since we've seen you last time. First off, we're going with the Jack Welch duels. They went undefeated, beating New Jersey competition, and they also took down St. Augustine in the finals 61-12. In that tournament, junior Cam Sons, a Lehigh commit, and also senior Trevor Jones both earned their 100th career victory. Now, the undisputed highlight of this wrestling season so far has been the absolutely huge matchup they had against Faith Christian Academy. Going into that matchup, it was a top 10 national duel, FCA being the number 2 team in the nation, and they came to Morristown to wrestle against Delbarton. It was an absolutely electric night. Great atmosphere from the students, great production on the mat from both sides, and overall it was Delbarton who came away with the defeating the number 2 team in the country. Huge help from the heavyweights, Brody Ishmael at 215 and August Moser staying off their backs against huge D1 wrestling talent from FCA. They take the duel home 31-29 over the second-ranked team in the nation. Now, they have such a tough schedule, and the schedule did get the better of them. They had 2 more top 10 meets coming up in the future. They had Blair Academy from New Jersey, routinely a top 5 team in the country, and also Wyoming Seminary, a team from Pennsylvania. Real tough guys. They're dealing with some injuries to Penn commit Peter Terranova, another Michigan commit, a junior, Gabe Logan, and also Brody Ishmael, a sophomore. So real injuries, tough schedule for the Delbarton Green Wave. They're going to drop those 2 duels, 37-22 against Blair, and then 30-26 against Wyoming Seminary. But they had to get back on the horse quickly. They have a 60-12 senior night win over St. Benedict's, and then it's down to state playoffs where they've had 2 rounds so far. First, in the quarterfinals, they take down Don Bosco 60-11, and then just last night on Thursday, they defeated Bergen Catholic 37-22 in the state semifinals. They're going back to Rutgers for the championship again this year. Hope to repeat as state champions against CBA. So this Sunday, it's going to be a date with CBA. They've played once so far this season. The result was a 41-26 win for Delbarton. That was at the Catholic School Duels. So we'll see if they can repeat it. This wrestling team also hoping to bring back a trophy, and we'll see if they can do it and bounce back from those 2 tough losses.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see swimming around 12 at Rutgers and then wrestling at 2:30. Make sure you tune into both of those. They will be streamed on YouTube. Yeah, and the wrestling team, just one of many top sports teams for the Green Wave. A ton of great action this winter has brought on as we wind down towards the state championships, and in wrestling we'll have individual championships later on. And for pro sports, not much action. You guys all probably saw how the playoffs unfolded. Super Bowl, the Seahawks win in dominant fashion, sacking Drake May 7 times. Kenneth Walker rushing for 120 yards. He's your Super Bowl MVP. You could have even argued that Jason Myers, who had a ton of points, could have got it. But the kicker love is not there. I'm happy camper. Seahawks, my favorite team, getting it done. It was definitely exciting to see. And stocked off season now for the football in the NFL, and really just an overall great football season. A lot of new teams being competitive, kind of the Chiefs not being in the playoffs, Bengals, Ravens. It was just really a lot of new teams and exciting to see. And the NBA is winding down as we're in February now, 2 more months before the playoffs. The Pistons and OKC are both still the 1 seed in their respective conferences, with some teams lurking behind like the Spurs, the Celtics, the Rockets, the Nuggets, the Cavs, the Knicks. So it'll be interesting to unfold. We'll bring some basketball to you now that the NFL is over. And that will do it for episode...
Hold on. I want to say something real quick.
About baseball?
No, not about baseball. We got Olympics, dude.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. All right. Were you done? We'll have Lily cut it after.
Yeah. I was there.
Yeah, a lot of sports closing out the season. NFL's winding down. NBA's winding down, but still a ton of great sports coming at you. College basketball is just heating up. March is closer than we think. Just a few more weeks until we get the bracket release. I'm really excited for that. Spring training in the MLB starting up soon, and we've also had a great Olympics so far. So, Scola, what's been your favorite event from the Olympics that you've seen?
I think the men's snowboarding, really the slope, it was kind of just amazing to see them 360 in the air, high up, and still landing and just sailing by. It was exciting to see. That would be my personal favorite so far. What about you?
I'm a curling guy myself. I think that's just the best sport you can see in the Winter Olympics, but that's just me. I've also loved hockey. Huge matchup brewing. Men's U.S. hockey is playing Slovakia right now. With a win there, they'll have a date with Canada in the finals. Women's hockey came down to U.S. versus Canada. The U.S. won, snuck out an overtime win. I'm hoping for just the same in the men's side. I want to see U.S. versus Canada. And yeah, it's been a real exciting Olympics. Really fun watching all that unfold.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have more news on that for next week's episode, but that will do it. That's all we have for you for episode 14 of Across the Wave. We hope you enjoyed. We're back weekly, so check out each week on the YouTube. I'm Lorenzo Scola, joined by Ryan Dooley.
Thanks so much, and we'll see you next week.